maximum performance takeoff, a tactical departure with a turn away from you. It's possible for one of these big aircraft to get airborne in under 1,000 meters.
Described by the German Air Force there as a maximum effort takeoff. Aircraft was airborne in about 4,000 feet, accelerating about another 30 knots beyond the usual rotate speed in order to facilitate that high departure. A tactical demonstration nevertheless. This is something that is conducted on ops when in contested areas, so it minimises the amount of time the aircraft is at risk from ground fire. The A400M has replaced all sorts of platforms across all sorts of services. Of course, in the RIAT, it's taken over from the C-130J Hercules. With the Luftwaffe, it was the Franco-German Transall C-160 that it supplanted, and the first one of these aircraft for the German Air Arm was handed over towards the end of 2014. It was possible to completely retire the Transall by the end of 2021. And the Luftwaffe's airlift capabilities are now being augmented beyond the fleet of A400Ms by the binational air transport squadron of C-130J Hercules, operated in conjunction with the French Air and Space Force from Évreux in France, and one of those is on static display at the Air Tattoo for the first time this weekend. Undercarriage is down now, 14 wheels and tyres designed to operate from unprepared surfaces at high weights. So the A400M is an incredibly capable aircraft. It has the ability to carry a 30-ton payload over 2,500 nautical miles to both established, remote, civilian and military airfields, and as better said, by landing on short and unprepared or semi-prepared strips. The aircraft is capable also of operating at high level at altitudes of 40,000 feet, which fully underpins its enormous range. The A400M can carry 116 passengers, or 9 aircraft pallets and 54 passengers, or 66 stretchers, with a maximum payload of 37 tons. Maximum bank angle of 120 degrees, which we've seen demonstrated here by Airbus test pilots in the past. We won't see anything quite like that from this Luftwaffe aircraft, but still very impressive. About a 60-degree banked turn there, and next the aircraft will be set up for a run-in simulating a visual check of a simulated air drop zone. The A400M has a lot of other tasks apart from transport and air dropping. For example, Germany was the first user of this aircraft to declare it operational as an air-to-air refueling tanker, and it began using that capability to support Luftwaffe sorties against Daesh basing out of Jordan. More recently, these aircraft have been refueling multinational assets on patrols relating to the enhanced air policing missions NATO's been mounting since the start of the Ukraine conflict. So the A400M is sized between the C-130 Hercules and the Boeing C-17 Globemaster III that we saw
5 minutes ago. It can carry much heavier loads than the C-130, and like both other types, use rough landing strips. In addition to its transport capability, it can perform air-to-air refueling, as Ben said, but we are also trying to modulise it now for medical evacuation when fitted with the appropriate equipment. And it's just recently that that's been an addition to the RAF released service for this type.
And some other customers, we're not going to be using this, but they have been looking at this aircraft and evaluating it as an aerial firefighter with roll-on, roll-off equipment, able to drop 20 tons of water in less than 10 seconds. It's been tested in Spain and France. And looking ahead, Airbus sees other roles as an airborne communications hub, distributing information to other air and ground systems, even as a drone mothership or as a standoff jammer. Now the aircraft being brought back in simulated drop condition.
See, the rear ramp is open. Paratroopers are able to leap from the A400M using either parachute doors on either side of the aircraft or off the rear ramp. And I seem to remember that at the RAF Cosford Air Show last year, one of the RAF Atlas fleet dropped the RAF Falcons team in public for the first time.
That's absolutely correct, yes, they did. So reconfiguring now.
And this is where we're going to see a little bit more of that manoeuvrability in evidence.
As Ben said earlier, quite an important thing tactically for the an aircraft of this size to be manoeuvrable, not just against ground-to-air fire, but also the air-to-air threat. Accelerating now for what they term as the zoom. The aircraft is configured to have max takeoff and go around performance of the engines. Reversing through the 45 back down to the A axis. Continuing to accelerate with the flaps up. The aircraft preparing to go from about 300 feet to 2,000 feet in approximately 6 seconds.
I was talking earlier about the tanking role these aircraft can perform, and only this February, one of these German A400Ms carried out its first air refueling of RAF Typhoons on Opshada in the Middle East, and the Luftwaffe now uses them as so-called three-point tankers with 3 air-to-air refueling points, a hose drum unit mounted on the loading ramp, as well as the 2 underwing pods it can carry. But now, bringing the aircraft in for a short landing.
Those huge scimitar propellers into beta mode, providing reverse thrust, and bringing the aircraft to a halt in about 4,000 feet.
Finishing off a really good demonstration of the Airbus A400M from Lufttransportgeschwader 62 of the German Air Force, flown for us by Lieutenant Colonel Gunnar Kratz and Captain Felix Johannsmann.